Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
Hey guys, I'm Jeff Doss. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome. Hope all my insiders, are doing great and having a great one.
I'll borrow them from time to time.
Yeah. Oh, I see. I'm like, oh, who was that first comment? Oh, that was Alex Demon. Awesome. So, hope you guys are doing well. We've had a great week, busy week, and again, before we get into all that and what our topic is, which is going to be fun, lots of fun. We are sponsored by the Virtual Fight Tour, and man, they just had an amazing card. Ladies' Night was awesome a couple weeks ago, and what do you think,
all
Alex?
that kicking,
dude? Yes, lots of kicking, lots of just I think different styles of fighting we got to see, and we saw some blowout, some people really step up, and we then also got to see some real close fighting, so some different styles, some clash of styles, which was a lot of fun. Again, like we said last week, if you haven't heard Raw or CTE, check those episodes out. They really go into detail about it. I just want to, I guess as far as maybe one fight that maybe stood out for you or just one competitor that stood out for you. I know who mine is.
Who was it? Was it Miranda who fought Emma Kilcullen?
Yes.
I believe that's who it was. That was obviously the fight where I was like, well, I got that wrong.
Yeah. And that was, wow, you're right.
By a considerable amount.
So she went hard, man. She went hard. It was awesome.
And I in my head, I'm like, I picked Emma because I knew Emma and I've seen Emma and I like the way Emma carries herself and moves. Speaking of the way Emma carries herself. So when I was watching that fight card, I couldn't hear anything.
Right? Oh, that's right. You were doing a.
So I was working a gig at the same time. So I got my laptop there and I got my phone where I'm watching it at the same time. And I'm like, I just got to make sure these tracks go all right. And so I'm watching it and I'm like, without being able to tell the score right all the time, and I have to look in a little closer. I'm like, oh shit, right?
Yeah.
I was like, this chick's dominating her. So then after the fight, the interviews, remember, I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Emma and Tyson, they're just sitting there. I'm like, there's an interview, but then they're just like, they're not talking. And I'm like, I wonder what is being said. And then I heard about it. I heard that basically Emma got tore into.
Right.
And then I think back to like what I saw, and I just saw this.
Yeah.
So now remember, I don't know what was said. I just know that she kind of got torn into like after the fight, and I'm like, man, she just took it. She just took it like it was nothing. She was just like,
hey, Jermaine.
Right. So, which that was pretty cool. I wish I could know like what it was that was said because I didn't know. I just heard, man, she got tore into afterwards.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, that was interesting, right? Yeah. Because I mean, we've all had that where we do something and someone thinks like you had the talent where you should have won, and they just tear into you like, man, what's wrong with you, right?
Right.
And then you just gotta take it, right? Because now sometimes we've had it where it's like this dude doesn't know what he's talking about,
right?
And you just gotta sit there and take it. Like you ever had someone critique your form?
Oh yeah.
And they do something, they tell you to do something just like completely stupid, like, oh, you've gotta like stop doing all the high kicks. You gotta like demonstrate some of the low kicks too. Like, are you on crack? What the heck's wrong with you? Right? Like, oh, okay, thank you, sir. But then there's times where like like you got beat, and you're just like, all right, whatever this person is saying, let me soak it in. Or you really value what the person's saying, so you just sit there, you just shut up. All right. So I don't know what it was, but I got to tell you, I mean, it was nice to just be able to see like, all right, she didn't clap back, so I don't know what was said, but
yeah, I'm not sure either.
That part for Emma, I thought that was super cool. However, for Miranda, right,
great fighting.
It looked really apparent. Like 40 seconds into the first round, Emma was not getting anything on this one, right?
Right.
And sometimes you have that where you just you're out there and you're like, all right, today, not my day with this one.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah. I was actually driving. So I was like,
I remember you saying that.
trying to like watch it. And they're like, all right, no, I had to pull over. I went into like a Kentucky Fried Chicken and I don't really even eat chicken. So it's like, I had to like find something. I ordered some mashed potatoes just so I could sit down and watch a couple of the fights.
Oh, so you went in. Oh, I get
Yeah, I
it.
went in because I didn't want to sit outside and yeah.
Wait,
So
time
it was,
out. Did you just say you don't really eat chicken?
yeah. I only eat fish and that's rare. So most of the time just vegetables.
You don't eat
and
chicken?
fruit. Yeah, man. I know. We'll get into health some other time on another
If you would say
episode.
like you don't eat fried chicken, I'd be like, all right, it's different. But like you don't even eat chicken? Like chicken.
Oh man. All right.
Chicken.
So guys, we have a fun episode. Again, for me, actually one of the people that I'm going to talk about is one of my top 5 for current junior competitors. So we're going to do a fun episode. We're going to do top 5 favorite competitors, and we're going to do, maybe we will get to current. Okay. We're going to definitely get to current for our juniors. We're going to start with that because we don't always get to highlight them as much. So we're going to do that today. And then we're going to go into our top 5 favorite from 2010, 2019. So really that last decade that we just finished,
Yeah.
and really when you think about it, 2020 was almost kind of like an off year. So this is really the most current, some of this is like, it spans a big gap. So definitely a lot of stuff fun. And we want you guys to share yours. Okay. So what's up, Kaylin?
That would be cool.
Yeah. So we want to hear yours. All right. So we're going to start first. All right. With top 5 favorite junior competitors right now. All right. So, and this could be, and we didn't even like divide up, like what division and stuff, just top 5 current that you're thinking of that you love seeing, Wow.
Look at this.
Wow. Jerry
This
Fontenez.
is perfect.
Love it.
Perfect.
All right.
Troy
So you want me to
Sexton
start?
fashion.
I'll start on this
I
one.
got to tell you about Troy Sexton.
Okay, say it.
Troy Sexton, it was in our fantasy football league, our Inside Scoop fantasy football league.
Yeah.
It is my biggest like.
Kaylin, it's in martial arts, not NASCA. It has nothing to do with NASCA. It's sport karate, the
totally.
sport. So I have NBL people, I have WKC people, WACO people, I have all of that. So it has nothing to do with NASCA.
So anyway, Troy. So the biggest bummer I have that the football season is over is I don't get any more Troy Sexton trash talk the same way.
Oh, that's right.
But now
by the way,
we get it right here.
By the way, I won
I'm going to pick Jerry
Scoop.
Fontenez.
I won the Inside Scoop fantasy football league. I don't even know if we announced that. I don't even know if we announced that.
Let's go into. Oh wait, did you won the league?
Yeah, I won the league, man.
Yeah.
See.
I obviously did not.
All right. So
let's go with our top 5 juniors. Go ahead, Jeff. Let me hear.
This is current, guys. All right. So for me right now, are we doing in a particular order? I'm not going to do.
I don't have an order for
juniors. I don't, because again, they're all different.
So many different divisions.
Right. Well, I'll go ahead and start with one that has to do with the last VFT. Tahir Abdul Qadir. This girl is awesome. El Jaba's daughter. She killed it this past week. She goes out ready to fight, and she is about to be rigged by Jeff. That's funny. She's about to be, fighting in adults very soon. I know she did the adults open weight at the WACO USA tryouts. So she's an amazing fighter. Also, one of my favorites who's an all-around competitor. Several of these are all-around competitors. Cody Molina from Texas. She was on Team Macho. I think now she's on Competitive Edge. Cody Molina is an amazing competitor. Does commas, bow. She's an original, I think, an ATA stylist. She does traditional. She does every division, all right? And she's really killing it this year. And her brother's also really good as well, Michael. So third is Ben Jones. Love Ben Jones, man. Love that guy. He's just an all-around great person, great competitor, and very creative. And then I got to include my man, Philip Brume. This kid is awesome with the commas, and he's also all-around competitor as well. I know he fights a lot in the Texas leagues. He does traditional. lots of those guys, man. They're killing it. And right now, I mean, it's hard to mention junior competitors without mentioning Mason Bumba, man. This kid,
Dan. There you
I mean,
go.
you got this dude just has a swagger and he's got a difficulty level,
He
and
does
not just in his
everything.
weapons. He's an amazing fighter. I love watching him fight, man. He's an
Yeah.
awesome fighter. So
He's a really
it's
good
really
talent.
cool right now. We're seeing all around competitors for our junior competitors, which is something we haven't seen in a long time. You know, thanks, Jackson. Yep. So, I mean, it's really awesome to see these junior competitors, and they're all around.
So I think you said it right there. I mean, I don't have a ranking except for Mason Bumba being number one.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all I have.
Right.
Right. So I think Mason Bumba is fantastic. He's my number one. I would also say like I said, I don't have a ranking except for Mason Bumba being number one, but I would say Ben Jones.
Mhm.
Ben Jones is there for me too. All right. Dig this kid. This kid is going to be and it's not a comparison, but I kind of wonder, right? Is he, when he goes to adult, is he going to start to have back at the Presleys and Jackson, right? Where he all of a sudden he just steps in and takes over. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're going to talk about both of those guys once we get into the past decade as well. All right. So, okay. So I got
Ben,
Mason. I got Ben. Oh, dang it. Avery Presley.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, amazing. That's one I wanted to add as well too. Doing top five is hard.
I know. Avery Presley, Aiden Kennedy.
Okay, yeah, he's still that's one too. It's like amazing.
And then Serafina Fish.
Yes, she was close for me too. We mentioned her a lot in the show, so I figured, All right, let's hear some of you guys top five. Let's hear it.
What did Kaylin chime in with? Kaylin has some.
Kaylin has, so she says mine. All right, mine is more forms and weapons centric. Ben Jones, AB Hedgepath, Philip Brumet, Katie McMillan, Isabella Nicoli, who's, wow, this girl is killing it for me. I think I had the biggest pickup getting her in the fantasy league. And then honorable mention, Sophia Pia. She's doing awesome this year.
Good. She does a lot of divisions too.
Yes, very good. So love it. Oh,
I can dig that.
Yeah, she just said, "Oh, she forgot Avery," and she also put a good quote out as well. Is that this isn't just competition either? This is personality and attitude on top of it, which you got to look at.
Talking about,
and that's what we want to look at for our competitors. Like when we, especially us, you and I, we focus on what they're going to do in adults, right? So if they had that attitude as juniors, it can carry them over to it, like someone that just, we knew he was going to be a champion and one of the best of all time because he was an amazing junior, was Brian Ruth. And everyone was so pumped up to see him compete as an adult. And it was just like one of the most hyped competitors ever to move up to, the adult.
Yeah, one of them.
Until
and then when he first moved up, he lived up to it too.
Yeah. I mean, he was killing it.
It was because every time there's a junior that moves up to adult, and Brian moved up early, right?
Yeah, right.
Everybody kind of has, on the side of their mouth, they're like, man, is this guy really going to do it? I mean, look who's up there. Yep. And he lived up to it.
He did. So, all right. So now we're going to go back in time. Let's see.
What we do right now is go back. Way back.
All right. Our top five favorite from 2010 to 2019. This is a hard one because I was talking to your dad. I was like, men's forums is really tough because a lot of the top guys only did for like 2 years, and 2 years, and 2 years. And then they left and went to Hollywood. Really, a lot of them did, or did other things. So really interesting. So again, guys, I'm just going to name some people. Do we want to go with forums since I kind of just mentioned that? We might as well go with forums.
So let's go men's forums. And then let's do that. Let's go men's forums and we'll do women's forums.
All right. You want me to go?
Go ahead. You go. I'm solid with mine.
Go down. Go 5 to 1.
Oh,
go up.
I don't have an order.
Oh, you don't have order? You're the one that told me about an order. That's why I did it.
I can make an order like that.
Right,
I got an order. Go ahead.
All right.
Go 5 to 1.
All right. So guys, too, let's hear yours. Start writing yours down. Think about it. All right, 2010, 2019. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's your favorite. It doesn't have to be who was the best. Who did you enjoy the most? All right. So we're gonna go forms first, and then we're gonna go with our. Sorry, I'm trying to put all the things up. Then we'll go into other things. All right, men's forms. So number 5 for me, one of my favorite. Because again, like I talked today, there were so many great competitors that did a little bit here or there. We talk about like Micah Carnes and Michael Guthrie and Jacob Pinto. But the one for me that I love watching the most was Austin Crane. So Austin Crane to me was my number 5. Number 4 is someone who's special in my heart, amazing on the NBL circuit, but also could compete in NASCA, Darrell Lewis. Darrell Lewis came back during that time and was trying double backflip on the floor, in his 30s, killing it and really just pushing himself to the next level. And love competing against that dude. Number 3, Joey Castro really started to come on in this time. He went from being an NBL guy, doing amazing there, and then competing and going through the hard times of not getting the respect in NASCA, and then now to being who he was, at the end of that era. Number 2, Ariel Torres. I mean, just one of the best. He finished out that kind of like that 2017, 18, 19 kind of era.
The untouchable time. For
Yeah,
him.
just crazy. And then still, even though he only did 1, 2, 3 of the years, the beginning, he's still the best to me, Matt Emming. And so it's just, he's still going to be that. But he also, here's the deal. Not only did he do that as a competitor, many of the people that came after him were ones that he coached. So I think that, just shows,
Exactly.
a legacy that he did. So what do you think? That was pretty good top 5, right?
It's a very good top 5.
But it's hard. There's a lot of people.
I thought we were going to have more matches, but I only have 2 that's the same as yours.
That's great. That's what's good. See, we come from different places too.
But
I was competing a lot during this time too. And like for me, like I'm saying, I'm not including myself, but I was very active during this time in NBL and NASCA. I had some, and so I got to see different people go against great competitors like Josh Durbin and Tim Conkle and all those guys. So they were different.
I'll go 5.
All right.
Which was, this guy was just entertainment for me to watch. Love this guy. Sen Gao.
Yes.
Sen Gao, some people either loved him like the way I do. I'm like, wow, this guy's fun to watch. Some people
do not
cannot stand this guy. Right. And I'm not gonna say who, but there's a guy that I dig a lot who's like, I can't stand this guy. Right.
Yeah.
But so that's number 5 for me, Sen Gao. Number 4, this guy can only exist because if you say favorite, because I don't really remember him winning a whole bunch. However, he's like Paul Bunyan in the sport martial arts world. Michael Guthrie.
He won a lot, dude. He won a lot of major tournaments.
But
he didn't. But like I said, I already explained it. He did the kind of 2-year thing, or he had one major year.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So Michael Guthrie, who still is like the greatest tricker that eyes have seen to a lot of people.
To a lot of people. Yep.
I keep hearing that there's these Japanese guys that are better, and some people say, "Man, these guys are better than him." And I'm like, my eyes haven't seen them. So,
yes.
So I was 5 Sen Gao, 4 Michael Guthrie, 3 Ariel Torres.
Yes.
And Ariel Torres for the exact same thing that we were just talking about with you. All right. We just hadn't. I think when he came in, we were like, "Oh, damn, that's what traditional form is supposed to be like." Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, he won a U.S. Open. Jackson Guthrie did.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think he won a diamond. But.
Tyler Weaver.
Yeah. Okay. Is that your number 2?
That's my number 2. Is Tyler Weaver.
Tyler. All right.
Right. And Tyler did it all from weapons to extreme, and he was just that dang good.
He also did a lot of different circuits too.
Number 1, called himself the People's Champ. One of the best interviews we ever had on Inside Scoop was Matt Emming. It's funny. My wife told the story the other night. I think it was like Sunday. We were just hanging out with another couple, and she was like, occasionally, you know how you do this, Jeff, and you're just hanging out with someone and you'll watch like a martial arts scene and you can kind of just tell who's doing their
Who it
stunts.
is. Yep.
Like you don't have to see the credits. You can just go, oh, I know who that is.
Yep.
Right. And they can be like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I'm like, all right, I'm telling you who that is. Right. And so when we were at the Diamonds and, you do the after party and,
Yeah.
you're doing this, you're doing that. And my wife was there just bored out of her mind. And when I introduced her to Matt, I was like, oh, this is my buddy Matt. He was Master Splinter in Ninja Turtles. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Now it's just like, that's it. She just wanted to talk to Matt the whole time. Like I didn't mean anything. Right. So
That's a great story. I remember that.
yeah, that was really cool.
Oh man. All right. So that was a good one. Jackson, you're listening, but he's not. I figured Jackson would be putting out a list. I don't think he has one. I think he's too nervous to put one out.
Because it's 2009 or 2010 to 2019. He might be on a
Forms.
list.
This is forms, yeah, right now. But we're doing men's forms right now. But
What
all
are
right,
we going to now?
we're going to. Do you want to stick with?
Forms? You want to go to women's?
No, let's go men's
Men's
weapons,
weapons?
and then we'll
We'll go
go
men's
into our
weapons.
fighting, and then we'll go to the women's part. So
That's fair. Okay,
all
let's
right,
do that.
so let's go men's weapons. You want to start this time?
Let me get my.
This
Hang
one's
on.
really hard.
I got to get my order. Uh-huh.
Uh-oh. All right.
Yeah.
So again, guys, yeah, let's hear
Got it.
what
I got
yours.
my order.
Men's weapons again from 2010 to 2019. I
All
knew
right.
that was coming. He plead the fifth. Compete against too many of these dudes and respect them all. Hey, I do too. I respect them all too, but I still can have my favorites. I mean, come on now.
All right. My favorites. Number 5.
All right.
Jacob Pinto. All right.
For the swords, yeah.
This dude's
Awesome.
so cool. Love the way he synced his music, like when he would like cock, when he would like
Mhm.
unsheath and then
Boom.
resheath his
Yeah,
his
That's
sword.
one
So
I
cool.
missed.
Jacob Pinto was awesome. It was funny. I was watching like a performance of his once, and there was like a student who was right next to me, and like you can tell like, oh, he's got 2 swords there, but like they don't know.
They don't know.
And then all of a sudden, here comes the 2 swords. This kid lost his mind. He's like, oh, he does
Oh my God.
magic.
That's right.
Like, yeah, he
Oh,
does
man.
magic. He does magic. So number 5, Jacob Pinto. Number 4, man. I mean, reality, who's my favorite would probably be, if not maybe 2 or 1, Mike Welch. Love
Yeah,
myself.
see,
some
he
Mike
was on
Welch.
my list until I had to move some things around.
Dude, you moved it the wrong direction. You should have moved
Well,
Mike Welch up. Mike Welch is
I
like
know.
that, man.
I know. I
Mi-
love Mike Welch.
Mike Welch, think about this. Mike Welch, and I hope he doesn't get upset with me saying this. Mike Welch is going to be 40 this year, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wait, no,
you're right.
he is. No, he's 40
Yeah, I
now.
thought he was already 40.
Mike Welch is 40, right? Mike Welch, he could compete 18 plus and
He can.
contend, possibly win now.
Yep.
That dude. That's who I want to be when I go back in time and grow up.
That's right.
So 5, Jacob Pinto. 4, Mike Welch. 3, Reed Presley.
Mm-hmm.
Reed Presley. I mean, we all know we kind of know the routine by heart now.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because you saw it for years. All right. And every time you saw it, it was still entertaining. That's what I loved most about that routine is that you knew it was coming, but you were always entertained.
Right.
Sometimes you can get fatigued watching someone's performance. Like I feel like that happened watching John Sue for so many years. Like you would watch him and you'd be like, all right, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. All right. But in the end, you're like, but it's like,
It's so good.
he's so good. Right. Yeah. But with Reed, I was entertained still each time.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, maybe he did 1 year.
I know.
But it's still one of the
It's
it's
still-
the single greatest performance I've ever seen in martial arts. Kalman
Yeah.
Choka.
Yep.
Kalman Choka's blindfolded finale form at the Diamond Nationals in 2011
Yep.
is the single
It's amazing.
greatest
I
performance
think so. I agree with that.
I've ever seen. And
I didn't put it on my list just because I knew you would put it on there. So
you for real.
Right. And it's just because again, it's just a big decade. So it was really hard.
Yeah, I get it. And my number 1, I mean,
But he's
the greatest
my favorite
weapons
weapons competitor.
competitor I think that there was is Jackson Rudolph.
There you go.
But you
See,
saw that
Calvin's
one
my
coming.
favorite.
You saw
Jackson,
that
I mean,
coming.
Calvin is my favorite weapons competitor.
For real. Wait,
Yeah.
and you didn't put him on your list?
Because again, like I said, this is just he had 2 years, so I'm trying to figure
Oh,
it out.
wow.
All right, there's just a lot of other ones that I like right now on this.
I can't wait to hear the rest of your list.
Share the wealth, sometimes,
I'm
So-
sharing. Go ahead.
All right, let's see. I keep losing my space. All right, number 5, Singal. I liked his weapons performances, and I thought he had his amazing just whatever weapon he chose to do. So always a great one. Number 4 to me is someone, again, who's underrated and competed mostly on the NBL circuit, but was successful in NASCA, has won WKA and WACO world titles. Tim Conkle, just one of my favorite competitors. And this dude can do every weapon. He competed with sword. He competed with flying commas. He competed with just all kinds of stuff with the comma, and really a big innovator in commas that a lot of people thought it was someone else that created that move, and it was actually Tim. So that's something a lot of people don't know about. Number 3, I think we're talking about well-rounded competitor that can do every weapon, Cole Presley. Cole Presley, to me, the most underrated of the Presleys, and he can do everything. His comma work was amazing, but he did a comma form, a bow form, all this stuff in one routine. Amazing, right? Number 2 for me would be Reed Presley. You can't, just the consistency. You can't take away what he did, and the championships he's won. And then number 1 was Jackson. I think he's been the most consistent competitor of that decade, and just pushed the envelope. So, and has been a great ambassador for the sport. So
that's exactly. Great way to put
awesome.
that. Great way to finish that out.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. So what do we say? We're going to go into fighting now. Let's start with our women.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Right. So we're gonna do the women's fighting, then go back to the men fighting.
We'll do women's fighting, men fighting, and then we're gonna go to women's forms after that.
All right, I'm good. Hang on, let me get.
I know this is difficult, but it's okay, buddy. We got this. And we're actually doing pretty good on time. We're having fun. Guys, share the podcast. Let everybody know what's going on. Let's hear your top 5s, favorite weapons competitors from 2010, 2019. We are about to do your top 5 favorite women's competitors, fighters, okay? Women's fighters. So again, let's just go through a list of people that were big then. Chelsea Nash, Morgan Plowden, Luisa Galati, Bev, we got what's the lady? Evelyn from
Evelyn Maines, yeah.
Yep. We have so many competitors. We have Gina Thornton. We have just a great list of competitors, past, present, future, still to compete in this day. Nikki Pellin, a lot of great competitors like that. Raylan. There's a lot of stuff that had, a lot of people. Even Claire,
even our very own
Regina
Thompson.
Regina was still competing, so great stuff. All right.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll go first. Number 5, 2010 to 2019, I have Elise Gorel at number 5.
That was close on mine.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That was close on mine. I didn't.
And I think if we had seen Elise maybe like 2013, 2014, oh wow, like as active, right, would have just pushed that up big time.
Hey, let's switch it up, Alex. So you give your 5, I'll give my number 5. You do your number 4, I'll do my number 4. We'll just kind of switch it up a little bit. So it's a little bit back and forth.
Roll, man. It's your world. I'm just living in it.
That's true. It's true.
What you got for number 5?
My number 5 was Verona
Salomon.
Yep. Amazing, consistent competitor. Was on, great teams from Full Circle to Impex, and always had a great role in all the women's team fighting. She surprised a lot of people winning different grands. She was just a very great fighter, consistent, I thought, but was a tough match for certain people, so.
Tough match for a lot of people.
Yeah, true. Oh, all right. So
number 4.
Number 4.
Gina Thornton.
All right, so I'm going to tell you that was my number 4 too. So
Stop, for
yeah,
real?
number 4, Gina.
That's
Yep.
cool. Yeah, so Gina Thornton is just good. I mean, man, talk about just resilience and just continuing to grind, because
Yep.
we saw her for, years before she really hit the top. And then we just kind of consistently saw her level up, level up, level up. And then I think life and little knickknack injuries
Yep.
held her back, right?
True.
That's
True.
what I would say.
She
If
yeah,
there-
she
well,
she
that's
was she was
only
the
if
engine that
the
kept going. So what's up, Alex? You froze on me. All right, so Alex was going to talk about Gina. I'm just going to say Gina's from Virginia, one of the best. She represented this area in just an amazing way, like a sister to me. And I just love watching her energy, and just how she was so focused on what was next and how to get better. So, and yeah, Kaylin, definitely, yeah, Morgan is still big. She's still the best right now. So, all right. So I guess we're going to go into, I don't know what's going on with Alex. Hopefully he can log back in. So this is tough. Hey, are you there, buddy?
My
All
bad,
right.
man.
So you want to go into number 3? This is where, for me, it gets tough because some people could be mad with my number 3. So, but
my number 3, Luisa Galati.
okay. My number 3 is Morgan Plowden. So, yeah. I know. See, you can be mad at me. So, I mean, it's just.
I'm not mad. I'm just.
Yeah. Surprise. Yeah.
Hey, Luisa Galati. I think she's retired now, right?
She's retired.
I believe she is. So if you don't know, I mean, man, you guys got to look up Luisa Galati. Look up if there's a match you want to look up, and you're like, gee, I heard about this. I'm not quite sure. Look up the final match that she had with Chelsea. Now that was a back-to-back,
amazing,
right?
Yep.
Tournament final fight with Luisa Galati and Chelsea Nash at the Irish Open, I believe.
Luisa's won the Irish Open like open weight like 2 or 3 times. She's one of the best. One that I think has the record for most women's WACO titles, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, very just amazing fighter.
And so, even that year, I think that year where she won the Grand Championship over Chelsea, she also won 2 golds in different weight categories as well.
Yes.
So it was like, this chick don't stop.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Anyway, I'll talk about her in a little bit. But yeah, and for me, Morgan Plowden was amazing that whole decade. Was coming on. She had kind of a little bit of a rivalry with Chelsea. Well, they were going back and forth in the beginning of that, and really the end of the decade before. Chelsea was winning, was consistent. She was the dominant fighter. Around that 2013, 2014 era, Morgan started coming on and has just kept going. I would love to see her fight more internationally. I know she does in the WKC. And when she's been over internationally, she hasn't had the best of luck, and hopefully it finally works for her, and I'm looking forward to that, like really seeing her go after it. I mean, she should be winning the Irish Open, just hasn't, the last time plane ride didn't work, the time before that, she had a concussion or, had a real bad injury. So,
and I think that's something, but even when you, I think the thing about Morgan, because Morgan is I'm going to fast forward, Morgan's my number 2. So we'll keep talking about Morgan for a moment. All right. So Morgan is, when your eyes look at her, you go, well, she's the best there is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you watch the fight, there's no doubt about, all right, this person won their fight. This person won their fight. Your eyes see they're not on the same level. Right. So just because you both are entering into the next level of the bracket, this thing ain't equal. Right. And so that's why we always think like, just go international, just beat them all. Right.
Yeah.
Because if there wasn't, there was just, all right, you can't go anywhere. You can only do your events over there. You can only do your events over there. And you rested off what your eyes saw. You would just go, Morgan's the best fighter there in the world. That's it. Right.
Correct.
But we can do that. Right. So now you go, let's do this. Just prove you're the best fighter in the world. So interesting that you had her at number 3. I had her at number 2. Who's your number 2?
But just her viciousness also is just what I love watching with her. Just, I mean, all right, my number 2 is Chelsea Nash. So my number 2 is Chelsea Nash. Amazing competitor. She, if it wasn't Morgan who dominated over here, it was Chelsea. And she had a lot of success as well overseas. Never went into the Irish Open overall, but winning WACO, she won 2 divisions in WACO. I think the year before she lost that open weight. And so was one of my favorite competitors because of her movement. I also known her since she was a kid with, being on the team with Trevor for years. Yeah. She just always looked like she had an edge up on everyone, either strategy wise, mental wise, and you knew what she was going to do, but she always made it happen,
She was versatile.
Yeah. She's very versatile, but she made it work, So, one of my favorites ever. So.
Well, this is some irony because Chelsea's my number 1, so we'll keep talking about Chelsea.
Yeah.
So Chelsea, I feel got robbed to a certain degree, just like I kind of feel Morgan is now, right? Mm-hmm. Or Morgan was. I feel like Chelsea was chasing a rival for a number of years and was just like, Nikki Pelland, get up there, get on my level. And she was good. But it was like, it's not a rivalry until the other one can beat that one, right?
Right.
Otherwise, it's just 2 fighters that are good, but one of them is always winning. That's not a rivalry. Right.
The thing is with Chelsea, too, is that the only thing with that is some of the people who were great in that decade before came back and fought her and did beat her. Like Regina has beaten her and Claire has beaten her, I think several times.
And I think one of the things that you kind of mentioned it, why I think Chelsea's so high up, why I have her as my number 1 is she went everywhere. She did everything. She clearly, and she admitted it when we had her on the show. If you guys haven't.
Oh, man, go back and listen to that. It's amazing.
Man, talk about one of the best interviews we've ever done. Go back.
Right.
Listen, that was season 1 of Inside Scoop. Go back. Listen to that interview.
That was our first interview. That was our first interview.
Yeah. We should just drop that one again. It was so good.
Yeah.
So anyway, she talked about how she got herself burnt out. She was like, this was life. This is all life was. Life was this. I was just living out of a suitcase. I would go to this tournament. I would go to that tournament. I would go train here. I would train there. She says she would like get busted up training. All right. And the way she like described it, I'm like, I don't think anybody trains that hard. Holy crap. Right. So that's why I feel like she was chasing a rival. And she just kind of reached the point where she was done right as the moment Morgan leveled up. And I would have wished that we had a year of them at a peak level. Right. So we didn't really, but I think Morgan's been chasing that for years and years too, right?
Yeah.
She's been chasing a rival as well. So she's like, come on, someone step up, Did we get, we've been asking, is Katana it? Because Katana got her in the open weight.
In the open weight,
But then when the ring came, it's still me, right?
Right.
In what Morgan was saying.
Right.
So obviously, we're all going to be like, who the hell is your number 1?
So my number 1 was your number 3. It's Luisa Galati because of her just, again, the experience. And honestly, at that time, the women's fighting level was amazing over in WACO and over in Europe.
So deep.
So deep, so good. And the way that she had, Chelsea's number several times in that, she had beaten her several times. You're looking at kind of similar to how Chelsea was having Morgan kind of come up. Evelyn, how do you say her last name?
Evelyn Naines? I believe so.
Yeah, what's coming up as well, and challenging Luisa, and even that her last WACO title, she beat Evelyn. I loved her style, just how she was calm. She felt like, again, it looked like she just had like something in her bag that was gonna, that one little extra thing that was going to happen. And a lot of times it was just the smarts. It was just knowing how to play the game, and it wasn't like an overpowering size. She's pretty much the same size as Chelsea, maybe a little taller. I don't really know. To me, they mirror each other very much.
They were like, wow.
Yeah. So, just one of my favorites because of just the style. And also you got to look at just how long she won, the records, and also the rounds too, of all the rounds they would fight over there. So I just have to give her a lot of respect on that, So
when we say that it was deep there, I mean, it was deep. I mean, there's plenty of people we haven't mentioned that really were kind of on that level. Shannon Ryan, Anna Condor.
Yeah, Shauna Bannon.
Shauna Bannon.
Yeah.
I
mean, Bev, we talked about Bev.
We mentioned Bev.
Oh, man.
Elena, Pentalino. Yeah.
Yep.
It just goes on and on and on. Right.
Right.
And then they're all deep in talent as well.
Yeah.
So that's why if there's a reason for you to say like, Louisa at number one, that would be it. I still think you're nuts, but all right.
Well, it's all right. Hey, it's all right. Most people probably thought I was going to say Chelsea because I during that time I was probably Chelsea's biggest fan. So
I thought you actually might have said Gina.
Well, Gina, again, one of my favorites as well. So I have to
put
her on the list.
Where are we going now?
All right, so let's go to men's fighting, and then we're going to finish with the ladies for women's forms and weapons.
All right, hang on a moment.
All right, men's fighting 2010, 2019. Fighters, fight fans, get on right now, and let's start hearing what you guys think. If you're listening today on the pod, write in the comments on the Facebook post or the Instagram post who your favorites were from this time, all right? We want to hear it. Let's start some communication, or message us and tell us we're crazy. All right. This is tough for me. I'm going to start on this one because like you said, mine is again, like we said.
You want to go back and forth, or you want to just run it?
What would you like to do? I'll let you decide this time.
Go ahead, just run it. Just go through
All
5-1. Let me hear it.
So this is really tough because there's a lot of great competitors in this era, and we're talking Europe and that. I didn't put anyone in Europe on my top 5. I know we haven't done, but these are two of my favorites from Europe that aren't on my top 5, but they're just two of my favorites. So I love watching Richie Veras and I love watching Laszlo. Just Richie, he wasn't the tallest competitor, but he found a way to win open weights and go against tall competitors, kind of like a Robbie, that was very good at that. And Laszlo, just his speed, man, was just insane. So love watching those guys. All right. My number 5, again, my favorite, someone who I still feel like had the potential, had some great wins at big times, but just never really got over the hump. But he was one of my favorites. And I feel like if everyone got behind him and took him everywhere he needed to go, or he went on his own, things would have been different. And that was Leon Jefferson. Leon Jefferson, came out the gate, just an amazing talent. Was cool to see him show up at Competes. And I saw a video this morning of him training at Kenji's school. One of my favorite teammates, one of my favorite competitors. I don't know, man. I don't know. But
can we be honest? Can we just say, speaking of Leon, can we just all admit he's got the best style?
Yeah.
In all of like martial arts.
It's true.
This dude, just look at this dude's style, and you're like, you have a level of cool that's on the level of like Lenny Kravitz or Prince, right?
It's true, man. It's true. All right, so he was one, and again, for me, that kind of takes me back to that era of when Proper was really pushing people from the West Coast and taking out, people from Cali, which we'd love to see them do that some more.
They're not doing that now. Now they're grabbing everybody from Italy.
Yeah.
I heard they picked up the Italian prime minister, man.
Oh my God. All right. So number 4 for me is
gotta hook up
one of the best kickers I've ever seen, Justin Ortiz. Just one of my favorites. Man, this guy could do it all. Again, he's one of my favorite all-around competitors ever. Justin Ortiz. Just like you would think, like he could do forms kicking. Like he could do a kick combo like I do in my form, but do that on someone and have a better ratio than most people. The only other person I've seen do that in that style is Pedro to me, that could do standing leg kicking like that, because Pedro could do that. Jason wasn't a standing leg kicker in his forms. He had his, he could jump.
Because Jason was an extreme dude.
Right. Pedro and Justin to me had that where they could do twists, rounds, acts, put it wherever they wanted to, and set it up in a lot of different ways. So
Justin stationary, moving forward,
correct,
stopping, moving backward, which is freaking impossible.
Yeah, exactly. Insane. Number 3 is someone who's one of the most successful NBL competitors of all time, or in fighting, probably the most, Willie Hicks. Willie Hicks, one of my favorite competitors to watch, was amazing in every circuit he went to. This guy's not the biggest guy, and he hits people hard. I mean, I've seen him as a lightweight, super lightweight, drop a super heavyweight. It's like, it's crazy, right? And just the way that he's continues to keep going. But just one of my favorite competitors. Number 2, the greatest of all time, Raymond Daniels. He's my number 2 favorite. During this time, it was, he was the person everyone wanted to beat. Still, he was the decade
in
before,
that decade.
too.
There was a lot of different rivals.
Right.
I
just left someone out too, and I just realized I just left someone out. So
duh.
Yeah, no. All right. Yeah, I just left out the other guy who was a rival with him, Ross Levine. See, it's tough. So Ross is another one of my favorites, but I messed up. Number 1 is Jack Felton. The guy is just the Iceman. He's my favorite fighter. The way that he just, no matter what, man, he's probably one of the most consistent fighters ever. And again, he's one of the smartest fighters ever, and he don't have to tell anybody that. He just does it, and that's what I like about him, and one of the most respected people, I think, in the sport. So
definitely one of the most respected people in the sport. Absolutely. I think respect is the right word. I don't think people fear him. They respect him.
Yep.
And so I've never seen anybody try to showboat on him. I mean, it wouldn't work out for you if you tried.
No, it wouldn't.
Right?
It wouldn't.
But I've never really seen anybody try to push him around because they respect him. Right. Yeah, your list was something, man. I'm gonna hit you with a couple honorable
mentions. But again, it's favorite,
not
not the best. You know what I mean? If I would have had the best, I would have put Ross would be probably 1 or top 2.
Right. Really, so some of my favorites that aren't on there. I mean, I got to go hometown. Duane Brown. That is my guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Love that dude. Jack would be an honorable mention. Robbie Lavoie, and then dude, Ross Cook.
Yeah, Ross Cook.
That dude
another one.
Is so freaking good and talented. I'm not even gonna go on about him too much because this guy's gonna come out soon, and people just gonna have to know, right?
Yep.
Everybody slept on him. Just watch. But anyway, we'll go into my 5.
All right, let's go because we still have 2 more
groups
to get to.
From 2010, 2019, Hamid Firouzi.
We knew that was coming, so yeah.
I mean, there was a time where it was I would say probably 2 years almost, where it was Ross Levine
versus
Hamid
him for the overtime
in the final. And Hamid only got Ross once, but I mean, it was tough, man. A lot of times they were 3-2 matches, 4-3, something like that. But what's he?
He playing pickup basketball.
Sometimes I gotta tell you a story about playing pickup basketball with Ross Cook at Stanford. He told me that story. He told me about that. That was a good one. But yes, I would love to hear your side of that story.
Yes.
So my number 5, Hamid Firouzi. Number 4, Justin Ortiz. Called this guy the ambassador. So that was another great interview that we had. And if you look, if you listen to that one, Justin will tell you something about Savate and what Savate is.
Yes, that's right.
It was really invented by the French. And I'm going to give you a short little snippet of what that is. So the French, I say prime minister, I think, whoever dude in charge was at the time, took away all the weapons from the citizens. So one of the big sports at the time and that time period was fencing. Well,
Right.
the king, the emperor, whoever it was, did not want citizens having weapons. Look out today, all right? Look out, all right?
All right, go
Didn't
ahead.
want citizens having weapons. So what those basically fencers were like, dude, what are we gonna do with this skill that we have? So they
Right.
used their feet just like they would use like their fencing sword, and they
Mhm.
created a new form of kickboxing called savate. So that was their whole goal, was to use their feet like they would use a sword. Freaking wild, right?
Right.
But
Right.
and then if you go back and you think back to how Justin fights,
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's
that's
like
how
that.
Justin fights.
Yeah. Right.
Justin uses his foot like you'll use your hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude's good. So that was my
Yep.
number
All
4.
right. Number 3.
Number 3, speaking of great kickers, Roman Brundle.
Roman Brundle. I
Right?
knew that was coming. Yep. Roman Brundle.
Roman Brundle. This
Yeah.
dude, you
The
got
king.
an answer for him?
This is the president of the Roman Brundle fan club over here. So.
Listen, you think you got an answer for this guy's kick,
Yeah.
and you're like, all right, I got a space for it. All right, I got a guard. I know what I'm doing. And then
It's
20 seconds
gigantic.
in, you realize there's no possible. You got nothing. There is a strategy. It's so freaking hard to employ that you're just basically going to end up getting kicked in the head for 2 hours before you figure out how to do it. Right.
Right.
And even then, like once you go to compete in the tournament, he levels up. So
Right.
watch the hell out.
All right. Number 2.
Number 2, Ross Levine.
Levine, the man.
Ross Levine.
Yep.
This dude is that good. He was about it. All right. And Drew just said it right there. Right. Think about his Warrior Cup wins. Right.
Yeah.
Not just against Hamid. He's got what's he got? 9? All right. Some of them are weapons. Right.
Right.
But I mean, some people just own their tournament. That's
Oh.
one for him. Right.
Right.
I mean, I think during that time period, his style of fighting, people just wanted to mirror, right? And there was a time where all people wanted to do was back fist punch and side kick, right? Body side kick, right? That was just it, right? And so think about that. If you're fighting Ross Levine,
right,
and you're gonna do the moves he does, he clearly does them better than you, right? What would you say your chance of winning is, right? Well, if you got my number 1, right, who is the rival, Raymond Daniels. Okay.
Yep.
Raymond Daniels had a bunch of guys who wanted to fancy themselves a rival against his. All right. I don't think Roman tried to fancy himself a rival. Roman just wanted to win. So he just ended up that way for a couple of years. Right. I think Zolt really thought he was a rival of his. No.
Yeah, I'd say Zolt would be one.
I
Ross
wouldn't.
would you put Ross up there?
Ross, I think is the only one, right? Because Zolt,
I still
Zolt
think
was,
there was a little
get
period where
elevated to
Jack
that
was,
level, and then given the title a couple times. That's why I say he's the most protected fighter I've ever seen. Right?
All right, go ahead.
Even on his turf, Ray would whoop him. Right? So I think Ross was the only true rival Ray had during that time period. I mean, you want to go to because Jason Grenier was another one, right? Because of his style, that was like, all right, let's put this guy on him. No, right? Jason Borelli, when Jason Borelli is
that was
on,
the decade before.
He's Jason freaking Borelli.
Yeah, that was the decade before, though.
Right, but there would be because he's weird.
Trevor Nash would be one. Trevor Nash would be one when he showed up, but that was rare, you know.
There you go, exactly.
You know, and I thought Jack had a point where he was, you know. So
the year 2014.
Yeah, when he was
with Jack Felton.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That dude. I feel Jack had him in 2014.
He did, but also, but who had him? Who finally had him that year? Ross. That was the first time that Ross ever beat Jack, was in that year. So
yeah.
Yeah.
You go back and look at that 2014 matchups with them at the Irish Open. Look at them at the Compete Nationals. Look at them at the Diamonds. The Diamonds, wow, that one was epic.
Yeah. New England Open, all that. So
where are we looking now?
All right, so we got to finish up. We got to get through these. We got 10, 15 minutes maybe, depending.
Let's hit the women's forms.
Let's do our women's forms, and then we'll finish with women's weapons. All right, ladies, we're going to finish it off with you guys on the high note. I guess do we want to go? Let's go back and forth on this one. All right. So I have some ones that a lot of people, and I don't even know when I put this, I don't really think I have it in order. I don't know. I'm just going to put my favorite. I'll say in this order because I think this one, and they're very underrated. They may not be the ones who won everything. Number 5 to me is Audrey Donahue. She is one of my favorite sword competitors ever. Loved watching her. I think she did not get the respect she deserved in a lot of ways. An amazing competitor. She was, student of Cal Menchoka. Was on Paul Mitchell for like a year, and then was done after that. She was pretty much done after I think the 2012 season. So she was only in there for 3 years maybe, but one of my favorites of all time. Just strong, clean. All right,
Yeah, I
you
didn't see
go
that
number
coming.
5. I know my list is crazy here. All right, go.
My number 5. Like, it's kind of weird. I'm searching for someone who's like, all right, I want you to like be prominent. So I'm like, I don't really have anybody that great in the women's forums where I felt like really strong about. There wasn't a lot deep, but I got Becca Ross. Becca Ross was around
Number
for a bit,
5. Okay.
right?
All right.
Oh, you got higher?
Yeah, Becca Ross won a lot of stuff. Becca Ross was strong. She was clean. She was one of the cleaner women's weapons
Okay.
bow competitors ever. So,
Okay. Wait,
but
we're on forums though, right?
no, we're on weapons.
Okay, time.
That's why I
I thought
said
we were. That's
Audrey
my bad. I
Donahue.
didn't read. Okay, we're on weapons.
Yeah, weapons.
My number 5 is Jenny Espinia.
Okay, that's another
Okay,
good one. Yeah.
that's my number 5. All right,
All right, you
and
go number 4.
the
You
speed
go
this
number
chick was
4.
coming with was great.
Yeah. All right, you go number 4.
My number 4 would have been the last couple decades number 1, and that's Casey Nash.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Yep.
So Casey Nash didn't have a lot of competition, but she's Casey freaking Nash. Right. The tournament stopped. Everybody just stopped what they were doing and
Yeah.
just kind of gathered around her. She didn't pump nothing up, but she's just Casey freaking Nash.
She's just
And
the best.
how do you not have her
Right.
as one of your favorites? If you don't have her on your list, Jeff, if you don't have her on your list, I'll tell you, man.
All right,
All
number
right, what you got
4.
for me?
Number 4 for me is Mackenzie Emery. She
Word.
was very successful during this time. She was a great one. Guys, don't give me about Casey Nash. Casey Nash is like the best women's competitor of all time. I don't want to hear none of that. So act like I don't. Yeah, come on, get the heck away from me. Don't even talk to me. All right. If y'all gonna try to act like I don't know who Casey Nash is, and it's Casey Marks. Okay, Casey Marks Nash. Anyways,
Yeah, but I would give her the respect.
so Mackenzie Emery, she took the Kama competitor, especially for women. There wasn't really, if you can really think about it, there wasn't really someone who was that solid in Kamas for women. It was always bow or sword, and she was really that first one that really took it to the next level. I have another one. My favorite, though, to me, the best women's Kama competitor is I haven't mentioned yet, but Mackenzie was just great, clean, from that that West Coast area. So great competitor. All right, go ahead. So that's my number 4.
Okay, I already said my 4. My 3 is Mackenzie Emery.
Okay.
Right. And one of the things, so we saw Mackenzie as a youth, right, and as a teen,
Yep.
right, and then we kind of mentioned this, saw him consistently level up, but then there reaches a point where the level of their tricks, where you're like, all right, when they're kids, right, the boys and the girls are kind of the same, and then like the boys
Yeah.
get a little bit more athletic because they're physically more developed. However, Mackenzie
just
was
kept
stricken
going.
just like the guys, and you're like,
Right.
excuse me?
Yeah, and someone who's now who was kind of at the end of that era and is now into this one. Sammy Smith is another one. Like those are the two that I feel like trick like the guys or can, and Noel can as well. So and
Yep.
Haley too. So all right. Wait, where am I?
Who's
My
your
number
3?
3. My number 3 is Becca Ross. I think
Ross.
next to next to Casey Nash, she may be the next best women's bow competitor. I really liked her traditional weapons style that she had, her creative style. She was just very clean. She was strong. She was fast, and she took it to that next level for that. So number 3 would be Rebecca Ross for me.
She's all right. My number 2 was the most winningest competitor during that time.
Mm-hmm.
That's Caitlin Deschelle. Caitlin Deschelle,
Okay.
She did. She beat everybody. She won everything. Caitlin Deschelle had kind of an
She's all
aura
right.
about her. Exactly right. Caitlin Deschelle had an aura about her, and her performance lived up to it, which was, I'm winning. Walk out. Just watch out.
Yeah.
All
Right.
right. She'll shake hands with a few
True.
people, but in the end,
True.
she was going to win. She knew she was going to win, and that was just the end of the story. Okay.
True.
And also, that's another one where if she's ever doing the stunts in a movie you watch, you can just tell.
You can tell. You can definitely
You can
tell.
tell
Yeah,
Caitlin
she's
like
in
immediately.
tons.
You're like, oh,
Yeah, she does a great job
one.
at that.
I can tell.
All right, my number 2 is Casey Marks Nash. So my number 2 of that era for me. I know she only could, and whenever she competed, it didn't
Now I
matter
feel
how
like a
long she
Dumbo.
did. She
I feel
just
like a Dumbo
showed
putting her
up and
through.
just whooped butt. It didn't really matter. She, I mean, she showed up periodically throughout the era.
Yes.
No matter how long she had not been there, hadn't done it in a couple of years, came back, win.
I mean, remember the 2012 Battle of Atlanta?
Yes,
She
you're right.
won
Yep.
the weapon
I can't hear you, but yeah.
Casey did, and then Chelsea won the women's fighting. Trevor won the men's team
won all the
fighting,
stuff.
and the men's overall with that Super Viking Warrior Ninja Challenge thing.
Yep, that's right.
And it was
All
like,
right.
but we had seen like, okay, Trevor and Casey and Chelsea, but then Casey comes back. Didn't matter, just like you said.
All right,
okay, my number one.
Number 1?
My number 1 is Sammy Smith.
Okay. Sammy Smith. All right.
Sammy Smith. I'll tell you, because
I'm not even sure what year she came into it. Honestly, I don't remember when her first year was. It was 2018 or 2017.
No, I think it was a little before that. I think it was. But here was my decision maker between her and Caitlin, because that was number 1 and 2 for me. So I'm like, listen, my daughter wants to be Sammy Smith.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's it for me.
Yeah,
that's it. You won for me.
My number 1, to me, is again one of the most underrated competitors ever, and I think she's the best women's common competitor ever, and that's Michaela Johnson. Michaela Johnson is amazing, and she innovated so many weapons techniques, so many weapons and common tricks. I think she is one of the most underrated ever, and I love watching her stuff. The choreography she had, the intensity, the tricks that she did. Still, I don't think some people do them like that because it was just so clean.
I can do that.
So, me, I'm a little out there with certain. I'm not going to just go with who won this. I like that, but we're talking favorite.
I get that. Yeah.
So yeah. So let us know who you think. One of the greats innovated so many today's common tricks, and not enough people know. Correct. Not enough people know.
I slept on it.
Yeah. And all right. So Drew's was Becca, Jenny Espina, Michaela Johnson, and Caitlin. So those are 4. He didn't want to add a 5th one. All right, so let's go with women's forms. My bad. No wonder I had you messed up because I had the other order. My bad. All right. I'm going to start. And again, this is another one that you probably don't even know, but she was very prominent on the NBL circuit in WKC from Sacramento, California. Was a very good rival for me and someone to compete against for Tim Conkle. But one of the strongest women's forms competitors I've seen in forms and traditional. Her name's Mika Rosecrans, and I've mentioned her as competitor of the week before. She has one of the best Tang Soo Do forms I've ever seen. She has one of the most choreographed and innovative like forms that I've seen, and it was just strong and it was really good. So that's someone who I would put there. So as number 5. Number 4 for me is, again, this may be low because she's won a lot and everything, but Caitlin Deschelle, as far as my favorite, I liked her forms better than I liked her weapons. again, I knew what I was going to get from
True.
her, you know,
I'll say the
and I
same.
knew like she kind of kept the same thing for all the years. So that kind of was one of those things for me, if someone to try to be a little creative, but her technique was just almost flawless. So, and her strength was strong, you know, and it was just, and her length was just amazing. So, those are my first two. So 5 and 4. All right, you go and you do your 5 and 4.
My 5, I kind of already mentioned before, was Becca Ross, right?
Okay.
I don't really have a lot of like exciting things to say about that because I feel like she won in that time frame, because she was just always there. She was always going to every event. My number 4 is Mackenzie Emery. Okay, so Mackenzie, you can look at it and be like, man, Mackenzie Emery should be higher. All right.
Time out, guys. It's
Mackenzie
your
Emery,
favorite. So I don't really understand. If you don't really like watching Becca Ross, then why is she on your favorite list? I don't really understand that. You don't have much
because I
nice to say.
didn't have enough 5 other
Okay.
ones. That's
Wow.
why.
Well, listen. All right. So that's so you said that's Mackenzie. Yeah. Right. So is your number 4. I'll go to my number 3 right now if you
number
want
4.
to. Yeah. My
Go
number
ahead.
3 is Becca Ross. My number 3 is Becca Ross. I think she expanded her throughout this time. She changed as a competitor from being a NASCA style competitor to changing into a more traditional competitor that was learning those forms because it was the popular thing, then really understanding how to compete with them. There was that. She was also one of the things that people forget. She was one of my favorite ones to watch in Korean. She had a really good Korean form, and a lot of people didn't
That's what I was
really
going to
pay
say. I
attention to
feel
that.
like Korean forms better. I thought her Korean
Say
forms
again?
would be better than her Japanese forms. She should have stayed doing Korean.
Oh, yeah. Her Korean forms are good. Another one that was good was Dana Heuer. She's not on my list, but her Korean forms are really good too during that time. Dana Heuer. All right. So you said, who was your number 3? Did you do number 3 yet? No.
I didn't do my number 3 yet.
All right. You go number 3.
My number 3 is Casey Nash.
Okay.
Casey Nash.
Awesome. Again, same reason why. Yeah.
Similar thing to her weapons form, which her weapons form is probably more iconic as to what people remember her for. But when you watch the performance and you watch her form, like there ain't no freaking doubt, right?
Right.
It was just like we mentioned about her before. She would show up, she would win, and people would just leave and be like, man, I saw Casey today. You see Casey?
Right.
Oh, man, I saw Casey. Right? That's kind of what it was like. That was so Casey's my number 3.
All right. My number 2 is Casey. Casey Nash is my number 2. So same exact thing. When she showed up, she was amazing. Even going into the 30 up divisions, winning those, doing the 18, she could go wherever, and the rules were different back then where you couldn't flip flop. So she kind of had to choose. To me, just the best all around competitor. For me, it's her of all time. We could say women, she's the best of all time. That's just what I think. So go ahead to your number 2.
My number 2 is consistent with the weapons, which is Caitlin Deschelle. Right? I believe her forms were better than her weapons. Right? She had a consistent, sword form where she would do, she had things that we all knew were going to happen. She would do the Webster into the sword chop, but then now she's doing the same thing without a sword. I actually liked it better. I thought it was cleaner. And one of the things that I thought made Caitlin so successful, this is going to sound crazy, was her cheerleading, right? When she was like in high school, she was on like a competition cheerleading team, right? And you've seen Caitlin compete. If you haven't, I don't know where you were, but Google it, YouTube it, right?
Yeah.
She has 11-foot arms, right?
Yeah.
They're so and she wears a sleeveless uniform. Like, all right, you want to make them look even longer than they are? Are you kidding me? But she uses that to her advantage, right? Yep. She uses the length and makes a perfectly straight line, and it has a really good appeal.
Probably the most perfect lines I've seen. I mean, even to this day, maybe. I mean, just I'm just saying. I mean, just the way the length, everything. I mean, it was really good.
Long. Yeah.
Yeah. So, All right, my number one is going to be one that you probably don't even know who she is.
Why do you say it like that?
Because I think when I mentioned her as my competitor of the week, you're like, who's that? I don't know who that is. She has won, just to me, if Casey Nash isn't the best Japanese, this lady is. And she has the record for like, I think 8 or 9 NBL world titles in women's Japanese forms. Okay. And she's beaten Casey for like 2 of them. She's beaten, so many top competitors for them. She's won at the U.S. Open. She's won at different circuits. She's won in Mexico in WKF style events. She's moved over to somewhere over in, I think, Dubai. She's over there now and teaching people how to do stuff. But it's Daniela Barrientos. All right,
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Daniela is amazing. It's just like when she gets on stage and competes, the stage shakes, okay? And her eyes, the only person that has the eyes like her is Casey. And so Daniela and I have battled it out for overall grands 2 times that I won my traditional one. It was over her. We had tied. We tied 3 times at one tournament in 2011 Super Grands. And then I pulled it out. We tied 2 times at San Antonio Yellow Rose in 2015. I pulled it out. So, but this lady is just one of the best of all time. She was sponsored. She was one of the first competitors besides Singal who was sponsored by ASG, just like straight on. You're not on a team. You're just sponsored by ASG. She was like the only one was her and him. And so just my favorite competitor, one of the best. If you like, I don't even like watching people do Super Impe, but I like watching her do Super Impe.
I see
You know what I mean?
saying.
And that's just the way it is to me. So Daniela Barrientos from Mexico. So
My number one is Sammy Smith. The
there you
same
go.
reason my daughter wants
Loves
to be
her.
Sammy Smith.
Sammy
And
Smith's
I'm like,
amazing
dude,
competitor.
that's it. You got it from
Yeah.
me. That's it. Sammy's number one.
She's still currently like my favorite, one of my favorites.
Word.
So, yeah. So, all right. So, of course, we couldn't even get to current competitors. That would not happen. But this was fun. And I hope you guys that are listening today on the pod or going back and watching this, you're learning a little bit about people. Go back. What's cool about this era, you can actually watch most of this era on YouTube.
Yeah, most of it.
Unfortunately, from about 2016 or 17, everything got Facebook live stream, right? So we don't have the separate videos like we have on YouTube like we do of this era. So go back and watch a lot of this.
However, of the fighting, there's other people like Brandman Dan.
Yep, that's right.
This dude's production is good, right?
Yes.
So he does all of them. But then the problem is if you want to watch like a fight between like Tomas Emre and Dean Barry,
right?
It's like a 9-minute match.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Right? And you're like, oh, okay, this is great, right? Because of the multiple rounds, and you're like, oh, okay, this is fun, right?
Yeah.
But it's fun, man. It's exciting. You're watching karate competition, which is what you want to do.
So guys, like this, if you want to know why we're at where we are now, go back and look at this era. Okay, look at this era. This era directly influenced where we're at right now.
Absolutely.
And the way forms look, the way, really the way that traditional forms are. You got to look at someone like a Jared Liker who brought in that, that classical style, an Ariel Torres, a Joey Castro, an Andrew Caballon, all those guys that really kind of, where we're at now.
Where's Andrew at today? What's up with you, Andrew?
He was at AKAs, man. You didn't see him?
I know. Man, you kidding me? My day has been one big whirlwind. I can't believe I'm sitting down. It's like that.
Oh, you mean like watching? Oh, you mean where's it today? Yeah, I got you. Yeah, but yeah. All right, so thank you guys so much. Next week we are going to go part 2 of the current Forms and Weapons Forum. We got Salif, we got Kalen, and we got Rashad back to do a part 2 to kind of, because we didn't even get to touch all the different things that we wanted to touch. Talking about leagues, talking about what they like, like, do they agree with seeds? What do they think about, the best way a league should be set up? What do they think about the way US Open is? What do they think? We're going to get into that because those are all really good forms and weapons topics,
You know what? I'm curious to hear
What's
like
up, Gabrielle?
what you said, like what they think about the US Open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or other tournaments like that, like really how
Right.
they feel. Like maybe
Yeah.
what they feel about the Battle of Atlanta. Because
Mhm.
we know what we felt about a tournament like that. I wonder what they think. Just
Right.
curious.
Awesome. Awesome.
Gabrielle, if you're just getting in now, you're a little late. What's up with that?
Yeah,
Good to see you.
we didn't get to our current ones. We did get into our current juniors. We'll have to say that for another time. I got my list, so maybe in a couple weeks we would do our current ones and just have some fun. So, yeah, good luck on your midterms. I know Jackson finally finished all his stuff. So, all right, guys, thank you so much, and we will see you next week.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. Thank you, Virtual Fight Tour, for all the support. Thanks, Main Gang. See you guys next week.